This police officer was doing his duties on a sunny Tuesday morning when he saw that people were staring at him, whereby others were smiling broadly. Normally, he didn't get this kind of response when he carried out his duties, so he thought to himself, what was the problem? When he turned around at that moment, he saw something that made his heart race. It begins with Los Angeles roads, which generate visions of classic Hollywood elegance, with waving palm trees and lots of sunshine that evidently attracts a lot of people. And this is the reason why the city is renowned for being one of the most populated places in the US, where you may frequently see a lot of people and a few animals on the streets. While many of these animals are unfortunately stray animals, the majority of them are people's cherished pets. Fortunately, the lost pets among them normally find their owners within a couple of days. But some of the pets that remain homeless end up in animal shelters, where they are forced to wait for a new family to adopt them. Most animals don't get the chance to pick their owners. However, the dog in this story turns out to be a very lucky one. So keep watching the video to find out. This brave dog approached the policeman and requested to be adopted. But was his request granted? Let's find out. One day, a police officer from the Los Angeles Police Department had to get at work earlier than normal at a bright Tuesday morning and began getting ready to go on a patrol. He arrived at work carrying a big grin because it was his birthday. And when his co-workers showed him the gifts they had bought for him, he went absolutely crazy with joy. Mercado's family had also surprised him before he left the house with a birthday song and a touching letter from his wife and children that woke him up. And now that he had arrived at work, his co-workers also surprised him with a couple of presents. What a lucky guy you may think he is. What more could a birthday guy want? After the presents, Mercado went on about his day. But little did he know, he was going to get one more surprise. When it was finally time to patrol the streets, Tavera, a colleague of Mercado's, joined him as well. After getting into the patrol car, the two left the LAPD headquarters and headed out onto the streets. Since there were no indications of criminal activity and no demands for assistance, the morning was relatively peaceful. However, soon enough these police officers were to become quite busy. When they arrived at Boulevard Street, they parked the van and stepped out to begin patrolling the quiet neighborhood. For the first few minutes, nothing out of the ordinary occurred, as people were only walking. After a while, the atmosphere began to change somewhat, as people began to stare at Mercado. The policemen also observed that a number of people were grinning, and a few were even gesturing at him. When Mercado looked around after pondering why people were suddenly noticing him, he noticed a lost yet cheerful puppy nearby. Mercado smiled joyfully as the crowd loaded as they saw the cute dog wag his tail and follow him. Mercado knelt down and petted the puppy softly. He said, "You're such a sweet boy," and then turned to look in hopes that one of the passengers may recognize their dog and come forward. But no one did. So Mercado inquired if anyone knew who the owner of the puppy was, but no one did. However, those present said that they had only seen the dog a handful of times before the police officer realized this animal was lost. As Mercado continued his work and patrolled the streets, he couldn't believe such a sweet dog was surviving on the streets. He was occasionally followed by the playful puppy. The puppy would lick Mercado's finger as he knelt next to him and petted the youngster. The partner of Mercado thoroughly loved it because it was such a beautiful sight to witness. Tavera had a beautiful interaction with the world since she was unable to contain her emotions any longer. So she took her phone out and clicked some pictures of Mercado and the little one to upload them in their LAPD social media account. Within minutes, the comment section was vibrating with activity. Everyone was curious as to what would happen to the adorable dog, and Tavera promised to keep them updated. After some thought, they decided to call the puppy Hobert, after the street where they discovered him. That was Hobert Boulevard Street, as Tavera had recently advised after spending some quality time with the dog. They began calling him by his name, and the intelligent dog appeared to answer their calls. I mean, could this puppy be any cuter? Although their patrol shift came to an end, the police officers, especially Mercado, got sad since they realized it's soon time to say goodbye to the pup. When the time came to go and return to their place of work, they both were feeling they couldn't leave the dog behind. Hobart also believed to want to join them by running around their vehicle. It was obvious that this dog was determined to follow Mercado wherever he headed. But did the policeman like Hobart as much as he did? Fortunately, the driver felt pity on the little guy and let him into the car. As soon as he were seated, he raced to the front seat as if he had been there quite often before. When they got to the police station, the officer left Hobart with his colleagues and went ahead to do some research on the puppy. They were disappointed to find that the kind owners had abandoned the cute creature. Unfortunately, there are more than 70 million stray animals living in the US, but only a small fraction of them are ever taken into shelters, leaving the majority to fend for themselves on the street. This contributes to a significant problem of animal homelessness in the country. Now Mercado had to make a hard decision to leave Hobart and transport him to an animal shelter so he could receive the attention and love he needed, even if it pained him. During the ride to the nearest shelter, Hobart wasn't being playful this time. It seemed like he knew Mercado was about to leave him, that poor little guy. When they arrived at the Ghetto Rescue Foundation, the staff members took a liking to the dog right away. Hobart's personality had undoubtedly won them over due to his cheerful nature. Despite the fact that Mercado had only known Hobart for a short while, he found himself thinking about the dog when leaving the shelter and worried whether his new family would treat him properly or if he would adapt to life inside the shelter as well. All these thoughts kept the officer awake at night, so a few days later, Mercado went to the shelter himself, where the staff recognized him right away and knew that he came back for Hobart and led him straight to the puppy's cage. The adorable Hobart, who was depressed from being in the shelter, suddenly sprung up in delight when he saw Mercado. He rushed towards Mercado and began licking his feet as soon as the crew opened his cage. The policeman, who had already made a decision to adopt the dog, held the dog in his arms and said, "It's time to go home," while fighting back tears of happiness. The staff and the adorable puppy, who had become joyful after the adoption, both smiled when they heard this. Hobart eventually joined the family of Mercado and was not only adored by his wife and children, but also by Mercado's co-workers. The group even made jokes about the possibility of the fuzzy creature joining their canine unit. Moreover, they added in a post, "Welcome to LAPD, Hobart," as a follow-up for Hobart because many people were worried about the small puppy. The police unit also tweeted to their followers that Mercado had adopted the dog and updated everyone how happy the dog is now. So this was the story about the cutest little dog that met an officer and became part of his family. How well the story has turned out. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel.